Stephanie, and I'm going to be today's moderator. I'll be introducing our speaker as well as reading off questions at the end of the presentation. As you know, this webinar will guide you on how to get started with your UCP program. But before we get started, I'd like to go over a few webinar housekeeping items. All attendees at this webinar will be muted. If you have any questions, simply type them into the question field located on the control panel to the right of your screen. We're then going to try to answer as many questions at the end of the presentation. How to manage your program at UCP, a beginner's guide. Today's webinar will be presented by Katie Kern, the Director of Program Administration here at UCP. Katie?
Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. I have a lot of information that I want to go over today, and hopefully it's not the first time you guys are hearing this, but it's going to be a great way for everyone to either remember all the stuff that you forgot or learn about everything new now that you have a new program here at UCP. So let's get started. We're going to talk about a few major areas, UCP's mission, a few things to go over before you begin your program, the services that we provide, any questions you may have or any concerns you may have about your UCP program, and then your role as a UCP program manager. And like Stephanie said, we are going to try and have some time at the end of the presentation for answering of questions or concerns, so please make sure you type those in as we go along, and she will ask them at the end, and I'll answer them, or as many as I can, at the end of the presentation. Now before we start, or before you even start operating your program, I do want to make sure that everyone knows that there is a Programs Operation Manual out there available to you, as well as our Fiscal Sponsorship Agreement. And those two items should be reviewed and signed before you start any operations. Now that Operations Manual is really going to give you a very precise understanding of forms and policies, how to operate underneath UCP. It really is your quote-unquote Bible to use with your UCP program. If you have any questions or if you don't understand something about that operations manual or the agreement, please give us a call or shoot us an email. Our email address is info@unitedcp.org, and that's the staff email address. I'll give you my direct email address at the end of the presentation. And then our main line here is 703-536-8708. And both the Operations Manual and the Fiscal Sponsorship Agreement are available on our website, which is unitedcharitableprograms.org. We are currently going through a re-edit or update of our Operations Manual, so look forward to that in the future. As all of you know, our mission here at UCP is to empower people to help others by fiscally sponsoring targeted charitable programs that encourage positive change through charitable, educational, scientific, or religious actions worldwide. Now basically that means is that we are here, we're the UCP program, United Charitable Programs. We started and we want to operate so that our individual programs, be them grassroots in Connecticut to a large, very functional program out in California that has $500,000. We have all types of programs that have all types of different focuses, and we manage them concisely here at our offices here in Falls Church, Virginia. This picture here is one of our programs, Upendo Kids International Foundation, and they were doing a mission trip to Kenya. And that's that picture right there. And if you guys have any pictures from your trips or your activities, please feel free to send them in. We'll use them in presentations and in marketing materials and in our annual report. So UCP, like I said earlier, was started so that we can help these individual programs not have to start their own 501c3s, but rather come underneath the fiscal sponsor, get their foot in the door, understand how charities work, as well as consolidate the cost of of running a charity, meaning that you're able to focus on the actual mission of your project rather than paying for a CPA or knowing the laws or knowing the legal ramifications of not filing a 990. We handle all of the boring aspects of charity, whereas you get to do the fun things like fundraise and go clean up a river or do all those volunteer activities. So the reason we have UCP in general is so that you guys can go out there and do all these great charitable works and that the world can benefit from them. So one of the major things that we started in 2014 was our program insurance enrollment. So basically all of our programs are required to enroll in the UCP insurance coverage within 30 days of their acceptance here at UCP. There is an annual fee to cover this cost, and it's typically around $350 to $375. And the insurance policy covers the basics, which are general liability, improper sexual conduct, social service professional, cyber coverage, and accident. Now, the reason we're able to keep that cost very low for insurance, which typically even a one-day event policy can cover, can cost more than $350, is that we tried to find the best insurance that we were able to find that would cover the most programs possible on their activities. So we do have programs out there that had to purchase additional insurance on top of the coverage that we were able to provide through our policy. But all programs have to have this minimal coverage right now, which isn't very minimal. It's actually really great coverage. We just were able to get it at a very reduced cost because we were able to pay for some ourselves, and also the programs themselves pay for some of their costs as well. The tax benefits of having a UCP program, and UCP is again a 501c3 public charity, is that donations to your program are tax deductible. Meaning if you were just a nonprofit corporation in your state, that would not be tax deductible. You'd have to go through the IRS to get that 501c3 designation. You have the ability to apply for grants. Most grant makers out there, they could be public charities, they could be private foundations, corporations, state, federal grant monies, typically want to have a 501c3 receiving the funds. You're able to have fundraising events. And a big part of UCP is that we have programs that come to us that incubate their charitable ideas, meaning they want to get started immediately on what they want to do with their charitable activities, but they're waiting for their tax status, or they want to see if there's a need in their community for that program or that charitable idea before going through the process of becoming their own 501c3. And we call those incubating projects. UCP handles the IRS and state filings for our projects, meaning that we maintain the state solicitation and fundraising registrations for all the states that are required to do so. So if you were your own 501c3 and you are located in Northern Virginia like we are, typically you'd have to register it in Virginia, DC, Maryland, Delaware, the major states in your area that you're going to receive donations from. But since we're the 501c3 and you're underneath our fiscal sponsorship, we handle all that for you. We also file the 990, which is kind of like what your personal taxes are. This is for a 501c3, and we have a yearly audit, independent run, that goes over all of our bookkeeping and creates our audited financial statements, and then those individuals in our accounting team together put forth our audited 990. And you can go and take a look at all of our 990s that we've posted on our website underneath the financial and legal section. And we also provide grant management reporting to funders. So that's in conjunction with the program manager themselves because you're the one actually conducting the activity. So most grant makers do require a report of some sort. Depending on the degree of funds and the complexity of the grant, there may be additional reporting that you'd have to do. But basically you do need to report on the use of those funds, and you would do so in conjunction with UCP. We also handle the accounting of your project, meaning the year-end financial reports. We also send donor summaries if they're requested. Again, we do that financial audit by an independent accounting firm. And the big thing that we do here that a lot of programs don't know about is that we send out donor substantiation letters, meaning that there is an IRS mandate for donations of $250 or more. The charity is required to send out a substantiation letter, which is basically a letter that says that they can use this as a tax deduction. Anything under that amount, you can use a sample donation letter, and that's available underneath our Policies and Forms tab. And I'll show you later where that tab is. But basically, it just states that the funds were received by the program, and then they can use the tax ID number on their taxes. A few of the great things that are provided as a UCP program, one of the major ones is the online access. So our programs are able to go in and see every single dollar when it posts and every single dollar when it's distributed, every dollar that's taken for a fee, every dollar that's come in as a grant or a credit card donation. And you can see that in real time. As soon as something posts in our system, it also posts online for you to view it. And I'll show you where to access that in a moment. Another great thing is that we provide free websites if a program desires to have one. And you can contact Julie, Julie, at unitedcp.org with questions about that. We also have unique secure donation links for all of our programs as soon as they are set up, meaning that the day that you're set up here with UCP, you can direct people to go and make credit card online donations or an e-check donation to your program. We also have a crowdfunding or peer-to-peer platform for people to receive fundraising monies or have registrations for events. So that is at ucpfund.org, and we could have a whole other webinar on just what crowdfunding or peer-to-peer fundraising or even our Karma 4-in-1 platform looks like and how to work with it. So look forward to that webinar in the future. Today we're just going to go over the basics. We also have all of our operations, forms and policies, procedures, regulations on our website that you're able to view at any time. And you can also give us a call Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, if you have any questions. So here is where you can log in to view your program's information. Typically, you're going to get that login information from an email from me when you first started here at UCP. But if you lost that or can't find that information, you can give us a call or shoot me a quick email, and I can send that to you. And it's right here on our main page underneath the program login. So we're going to talk a little bit about your program here at UCP. A few things to know about your program and its kind of designation underneath UCP is that there are two numbers that you're going to get. One is UCP's tax identification number, and the other is your program account number. Now, a tax identification number, it's also called a TIN, which stands for tax identification number, or EIN, which stands for employer identification number. It's a number that identifies UCP as a 501c3, as well as we use it for our employment status. And UCP shares that TIN with all of our programs, but the legal entity on record with that number is United Charitable Programs. Now, you also receive a program account number, and that account number separates you from all the other programs here at UCP. So if you call in and want to talk to me about your particular program, you'd want to be able to have that number on hand so that I can go in, log in, and see your program and its particular activities and disbursements and payments and check deposits. And it's what you're also going to use when you submit to us any donations, but I'm going to talk about that later too. And that number doesn't really have any identification with anyone outside of UCP, meaning you're not going to want to give that number to your friend to say, here, look, we're a part of UCP, because it has no meaning to them. It only really has meaning internally here at UCP with us. Now, when you use UCP's tax ID number, you always want to state that the name of your program is a fiscally sponsored project of United Charitable Programs, a registered 501c3 public charity, and you can also provide our TIN, which is 20-428-6082. And you're going to want to state that on any marketing materials that you have on your website, any flyers that you create, because you don't ever want to have donor confusion. And I don't want to scare anyone, but a couple years back, one of our programs forgot to have that on a number of their items in their website and their marketing materials, and so they got in trouble with their state's attorney's office because the state's attorney's office got a complaint from a donor thinking that this program was saying that they're your own 501c3, which was not the case. They were fiscally sponsored by us. But we took care of it, and we made sure that they updated all their materials, so everything's fine now. But you don't ever want to have any confusion there with your donors or constituents. Also, another thing to remember is that you want to use the title Program Manager or Founder. Titles like Director or President are reserved for the UCP corporate staff here at our office in Falls Church. So under UCP's tax ID, you cannot open a bank account or a PayPal account or any really type of account underneath the program name or the name of UCP or use our TIN. Basically, you need to be corporate staff to be able to do that. So we want to make sure that you know not to attempt or try to do those things. You also cannot sign a contract in UCP's name or in your program's name. Basically, UCP is a legal entity, but you would need to be a director or officer of UCP to sign any contract that binds it, as well as your program is not a legal entity, but rather a project of a legal entity, which is UCP. You also don't want to use our name or tax ID number without our consent. Typically, you're going to want to make sure that you send in the URL for your website or the marketing material or anything that you want to create. Let me take a look at it, or let one of the staff members here take a look at it, and then we'll let you know if there's anything that needs to be changed. But basically, we're just making sure that everything you state on those materials are correct, as well as that you have the fiscal sponsorship statement about your program here at UCP present on them. So there are fees that come along with UCP. We take 8% of each incoming donation or payment or any dollar that comes in, as well as a 3% credit card fee when a credit card donation or payment is made. We don't require our programs to have a minimal balance, but we do have that annual insurance fee that all of our programs are required to pay. Now that 8% basically pays for the staff here to have that legal underpinning, the 990, the state solicitation, all the things that you would have to pay a CPA or a lawyer to do outside of UCP. We consolidate those costs and try and keep them down as best as possible for our programs. We do have a lot of resources available for our projects. We want to be able to educate you guys, make sure that you know how to use your program to its fullest potential, because when you succeed, we succeed. We have a GrantStation newsletter, that's really done in conjunction with GrantStation.com. If you haven't taken a look at their website, they are outside vendor, but we do recommend them highly, and again, that's GrantStation.com. It's a database of searchable grants from private and public foundations, as well as corporate and state and federal grant funds, and you're able to take a look at what's available in your particular locality or in your particular program's field of interest. Again, we do have that Google website available, the online donation link, and access to account balance. We do provide free press release assistance. So basically, there's a questionnaire available on our website that you fill out. You send that in to us here at UCP. Actually, Stephanie, the lady that's moderating this event here today, she helps you put together that press release and then send it out to a number of sites. We do have a crowdfunding and fundraising event registration page. Also, we do have access to nonprofit bulk postal rates. And if you guys have any questions about these things, again, shoot me an email or give me a call, and I can direct you to the correct staff member to help you with them. So this is just a quick overview of how programs operate at UCP. So a mission is identified by the program manager. That program manager goes out and collects donations or holds a fundraising event and collects payments. You send those donations or payments into UCP, and then we can disperse those funds as needed. Things like payments to vendors or reimbursements to program managers for expenses, and that all relate to the program mission. So it's one big happy circle or cycle, and we're going to get a little bit more into detail about how to do those things in a moment. So your role of the program manager is to really champion the cause. I know I talked about it earlier, but you are the face of the program. You are the one that has that spark, that initial desire to go out and change something or make something better or to help people. So you're the one going out and actually conducting the charitable activities. We're here to be your background, to be the backbone of your program, but you're the actual one that's going to go out and champion the cause, find funders, find community members that are interested in helping your cause. You're the one that's going to do all those things to make sure that your cause succeeds and your program succeeds. There are a few things that we require program managers. One of the main things is that you have to maintain contact with UCP. So if you have any changes in your contact information, like your phone number or your email address, definitely let us know. If we don't hear from you in a while, especially if you don't submit your annual activity reports, we do have to close down the program because we want to make sure that you are updated on any program or policy changes. But when you're the main contact for UCP, you want to keep us abreast of any program plans, activities, trips, or fundraisers, any major program expenses, your marketing materials, like we talked about earlier, you want to send them to us to take a look at, as well as any changes to your program manager, mission, or name. And what that means basically is if you want to change the program manager to another person or even add an advisor to the account, you'd want to let us know through an amendment form, and that's available on our website. Or if you want to change the name or the mission of the program, you'd also use that amendment form. So there are a few main responsibilities of the program manager other than being the champion of the cause. Mainly because of some legislation back in 2006, all of our programs that are fiscally sponsored by UCP that conduct active charitable activities cannot be funded by the program manager or any relative of the program manager. And that's again from that 2006 legislation. So if you have any questions about that, I can go into it in more detail. I could give another hour talk about that, but unfortunately it's the law, so we have to make sure that we follow it. And one of the main ways that we keep any kind of issues down are making sure that no donations come in from the program manager or relatives of the program manager. You want to make sure that you know UCP's program policies and regulations and anyone involved in the program itself. Any advisors or any volunteers need to know about UCP and our policies and procedures, maybe not to the same degree that your knowledge is, but also they need to know the things that pertain to them. And again, I'm sorry I keep hammering this one home, but you want to make sure that all your marketing materials include UCP's information and its role as your fiscal sponsor. Oops, sorry. There we go. So one of the great things about UCP is that you do not have to file any annual paperwork to UCP other than the yearly activity report. Basically, that annual activity report is a way for us to kind of get a year-end look at your program and getting updates about the new year itself. Our year-end report is coming up, I believe, in March of this year. We're going to send out a couple of emails and letters and postcards, actually, to remind everyone about it. But basically, it asks about what you've done this year, successes, challenges, any changes that have made, number of volunteers, all that good stuff that we need to know here at UCP, as well as put in our 990. And we do all the rest. So we do that 990, the state filings, the federal filings, the solicitation registrations, all the things that you have to do as your own 501c3, we handle for you. So you don't need to file any tax paperwork at all. One of the best ways to stay in touch, we talked about it earlier, but is to use our our e-newsletter. And that e-newsletter comes out every 2 weeks. It's a way for us to remind you about upcoming submission deadlines, remind you about any policy changes, or let you know about any great things that are coming around the pipeline. Last year we took the chance to tell everyone about our crowdfunding and peer-to-peer fundraising platform that was free to all our programs, and it was a great way for everyone to learn about it as well as get enrolled in it. So take a look at those e-newsletters. They do come out every 2 weeks. If it goes into your spam folder, please make sure you put it in your the email address as a non-spam email address. Or if you can't find them, let us know and we'll make sure to sign you back up again. So now let's get started. So now you know about your role here at UCP, and you know about UCP in general, and you know about our policies and regulations. Now here's a few ways to get started now. The best thing you can do for your project at this exact moment is to use your advisory committee. Now, an advisory committee is not a board of directors. They are a team of people that you have gathered around you that meet regularly, that are engaged in the community, that interact with your constituents. They're going to be helping you plan program activities, advise you on program expenses and budgets and directions. But they're also the people that are actually out there talking about your program and hopefully helping you fundraise and conduct the charitable activities. They could be somebody that's already involved in your community in a particular field of interest. It could be someone that has a good grasp on how websites work, so they're going to help you design your website. Maybe it's somebody with a marketing background or a financial background. These are the people that you're going to look to as your team in your community that helps you fully use your program to its best capacity. Another good step to start right now is to make a budget. Now I understand a lot of our new programs don't even have a donation on the horizon, but you do want to understand what your program needs in order to function. So a budget could have things like staff time, computer expenses, postage, travel expenses, perhaps you want to attend a conference or conduct a meeting, maybe you want to have an event. There are all kinds of potential budget items out there, but having an understanding of what it takes to actually run your project to its best capacity, and also to perhaps what it would cost to just run it so that the charitable activities can be conducted, or perhaps you want to figure out how much your program would need to bring in order to pay somebody for, let's say, a full-time employment or a part-time admin staff. There are all kinds of ways to do that. There are a few things out there that you could use to help you make that budget. We also have a few resources here that if you're interested I can forward to you. So the best place to look for all the forms and policies on our website is the Forms and Policies tab. So it's going to have things like the disbursement request form, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and our donation deposit form. It's going to have your event approval form. It's going to have all the policies and procedures like the event waivers for participants and volunteers. It's going to have every single form and policy that you could possibly need underneath UCP. We're in the process of redeveloping our website, so hopefully in the near future it's going to be a little bit more organized, but right now it's just a list of all the programs, policies and forms and regulations. So another part that's big about a program here at UCP is you have to get funding in the door in order to survive. That could mean things like grants, that could mean things like just picking up a collection or putting out a bucket. But a way a lot of our programs survive is through fundraising events. And a fundraising event could be a thing like a social auction, a silent auction, a golf tournament. Many of our programs are very successful with having golf tournaments, craft auctions, plays, car washes. Really the sky's the limit as long as it's charitable and not considered gaming. And gaming would be something like a raffle or a poker night. And some states allow them, some states don't, so that would be a question you want to call and talk to me first before planning something like that. And whenever you do have a fundraising event or an event in general planned, you want to take the time out to talk to me, take a look at the policy, and send in the approval form. There are various state and local regulations. Like I was talking about a moment before, certain states don't allow for raffles or bingos or lottos. There are things that we have to consider for sales tax and budget. Budget in particular, let's say the program wants to spend $500 to hold an event but doesn't have about $100 in the account. That would be a conversation that we would need to have to make sure that we understand how the event's going to be held and perhaps who would be sponsoring the event if the funds aren't there, as well as any participant or volunteer waivers. I did speak about it a minute ago, but anytime you're having an event where there's some degree of danger, let's say it's a 5K or a river cleanup, you're going to want to have participant or volunteers sign the waivers so that they release UCP and your program from any liabilities. After the event, you'd want to send in your receipts for reimbursements and report to us on how it went. Typically, after the event, a program would call up or send me an email with just some information about how the event went in general, as well as submit their receipts or invoices for payment or reimbursement. And this is a copy of our fundraising and event approval form. I know it looks like a lot, but a lot of it's just yes or no questions. So it's all the information we need here at UCP as well as our insurance company needs to cover the event. Now, for the donation deposits, deposits of donations and payments, we do have a form. And basically, you want to state to UCP the program name and its account number, as well as what type of revenue it was. It could be a grant or an event service revenue. And you want to also let us know if it was a donation or payment. Here is a copy of our donation and payment deposit form. As you can see, those are the program name and account number at the top. But at the bottom area, you're going to see the donation amount versus payment amount. So anytime funds are given and there is something received in return for those funds, that's considered a payment. So let's say that you went to an event. That's a ticket price and a payment because you're paying to attend the event. Or let's say you're just making a donation at the event that was cost-free and they just wanted to make it out of the goodness of their heart. That'd be considered a donation. And you want to indicate as such on that form. Now, donations would be collected by the program manager and mailed to UCP with that form. And the payment can be made to UCP or the program name or a combination of the two. And there's no need to sign the back. That question I get a lot. We have a stamp here that we use when we deposit the funds. So there's no need for you to sign your name or the program name on the back of the check. Now I would like to go over how to request funds, and we use the disbursement request form. Now a disbursement request form basically indicates who we're paying and why, and we use activity codes to designate certain funds for certain reasons. Here, I'll show you a copy of that real quick. So at the bottom you're seeing the activity codes that most of our programs use. So you'd want to put in the amount if it's postage for 5010, or perhaps we're paying for printing for 5011. And those are the codes that we use when we create an income and expense statement for your program and for UCP in general. Now just to go back to that first screen, we do have faster processing and delivery options, meaning that our normal processing time is 3 to 5 business days, and we use USPS first class mail to send out the checks. We do have same day and next day processing. There is a fee for that, but it's a nominal fee, as well as delivery options like a bank wire, USPS priority mail, or FedEx. When you do send in those disbursement request forms, you do need to make sure that you have the justification of why the expense was necessary, as well as any invoice or receipt to back up that expense. If you didn't send in a receipt for reimbursement, then we will call you and require you to send that in. And if it's taxable income for services, you'd also need to have a W-9 from the individual or vendor that's providing those services. Because we use the 1099 process at the end of the year, or the beginning of this year, actually I think they have already gone out for 2014 for all services. So just a quick overview. I know we did it earlier, but you want to mail in those donations to UCP after your fundraising event, and then you can check online when those funds have posted, as well as seeing when funds have gone out through disbursement request, and also those all apply to the mission of the program. And now we're ready to go. I went a little bit over, I'm so sorry, but I know we have a few questions from Stephanie right now. And before I answer any questions, just so you know, here is my direct contact information. And my email address is Katie, K-A-T-I-E, @unitedcp.org. And my phone number is 703-538-8867. So feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. If you have a specific time in mind that you'd want to set up a time to talk, just shoot me a quick email and I can put you on my schedule. And Stephanie, I know we have questions that everyone has for me.
Yep, thank you so much, Katie. We do have a few questions here. I'll just answer a couple since we're kind of running over time now. But let's see. Okay, the first question is, does UCP provide assistance in applying for grants?
Unfortunately, no. We don't have the staff size to actually create proposals or applications for grants, but we do have an individual here. Her name is Susan Andalora, and she will help you with the submission of those grants and the management of those grants, meaning that you need to do the background of that work, create that proposal, send it in to Susan. She'll edit it, not really for grammar, but she'll make sure the content's there, as well as make sure there's identifying information about your project here at UCP, just to give the best chance possible to get that grant, and then she'll assist with the submission of that grant. And if it's awarded, she'll also assist with the reporting requirements and the management of the grant.
Great. The next question is, which states do you submit for permission to do charitable solicitations?
Which states? Off the top of my head, I think there's 36 of them, so I don't have them all. I can get you that list if you want to give Stephanie your email. I can give you that list directly.
Okay. And we'll answer just one more question. How do we go about hiring employees for our program? What are the requirements?
So that's a really good question. I could give a whole other webinar on just hiring employees. So there's two types. One is an independent contractor and the other is a payroll employee. An independent contractor is somebody like a web designer that will complete something on their own time with their own materials and then come back with a completed project. And that would be somebody that you would get a W-9 for. Now, if we're talking about someone that's going to do admin work for the program, there's two types of payroll employees. One is an hourly and one is a salary. And those are various forms depending on the state you're in. There are federal forms as well. And you would contact Susan Andalora. She's our HR manager here at UCP, and she would help you with those forms. However, I do hesitate for you to go out and just start hiring people. You do want to talk to us first because we want to make sure that the program has the ability to pay for those people's salaries as well as has a history or a balance that could show that this program can survive, because we don't want to hire people if the program's not able to pay for their salary or hourly base employment.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for answering those questions, Katie, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to give this presentation. And I also want to thank everyone for joining us today. We do have another webinar coming up, going to be presented by a nonprofit marketing consultant, Dana Hudson. It's called 5 Ways to Plan Before You Brand. She does a lot of strategic planning, so it's very important before you go and start fundraising and having events and stuff that you have a plan in place to kind of steer your program in the right direction. And that's on February 10th. You can find that link to register in our e-newsletter. It was sent out last Friday. And also, if you go to our resources page at unitedcp.org, that's where we have recordings from past webinars. So you might want to check that out as well. And any other questions you have, we'll go ahead or you can actually email Katie here, katie@unitedcp.org, and we'll try to answer them for you. This recording will be out up on our website in the next week, I would say. Alrighty, thank you everyone. Have a good day.